Stay tuned for this month's episode of Common Sense, sponsored by Ohio Valley Bank, where today we'll be learning about financial literacy through some fun activities. Welcome back to Common Sense, the monthly show here on Cable Channel 17, sponsored by Ohio Valley Bank, where we talk about current trends in the banking industry and how they relate to small businesses. Ryan, we're back here again today. Beautiful, hot, steamy, sticky weather outside.
Record hot weather.
Yeah, you can feel like
the point I hate summer.
Feel
Ready
like you
for
want
fall.
feel like you want to melt when you go outside.
Absolutely.
So miserable. Just another day or two of this, and then we should be out of the woods, and
I hope
hopefully
so.
that'll be the end of the 90s for the year.
Hope so.
So we do hope so too.
Yeah.
So anyway, today we're going to be joined by a couple of ladies from Ohio Valley Bank. We're going to be joined by Roush and Bryna Butler, and they're going to help us out, learn about some financial literacy things that they do in the schools, and we're going to have some fun exercises.
Sorry about that, Brad. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and get some things ready, but Hope's got this fun game for you right now.
Right. So bear with us today. We've got some little different props here. You notice we're missing the table. We've got some
We have
little
fly swatters.
weapons to use.
Mix it up.
So we're going to play some fun games that'll be, you can take home and play with your kids, and Hope will explain how we can use those. And
Educate them a little bit about money.
that's right.
Okay. All right, so what we're going to start off with is you guys have your fly swatters. This is what we call the fly swatter game. And you can play this game with different age groups. I like to do it with my high school kids in the Bank It program, which I'll tell you guys in a little bit. I've even done it with the elementary kids. Now, first off, can you guys promise me that you're not going to smack each other? I saw a little bit of that earlier. You got to be good. I have to get the kids to promise me that. And essentially, this gets kids to decide what the differences are between debit cards and credit cards. But sometimes I'm going to ask a question where it could apply to both, because a lot of kids, because the cards, as you can see, look very similar, they get confused. But as you guys know, their functions are very different. So I'm going to ask you guys a couple different questions. Now, you guys have it a little bit easy because I have you guys standing here. If this was in a classroom, I would have the kids start back, and then I have them not run, call them power walk, and we power walk, and they would power walk, and they have to, I'm going to read a statement or a question, and then they would decide which one it applies to. So if you guys think the answer is debit card, you're going to hit that sign.
Okay.
Now, whoever hits that sign first and leaves their fly swatter on the sign would get a point for their team, and then
Okay.
they win some type of prize. So are you guys ready?
I
Do you think
one
you
I
can do
think
this?
we're ready.
Yeah.
Do you want me to
Should I get
kind
over
of,
Yeah,
this
we
way a
should.
little bit? Yeah.
maybe I come off to the
All right.
side
Maybe
here?
this, yeah.
Okay. You guys ready?
All right.
I use this card and will build later for my purchase. Go. So you would get a point. It's a credit card.
Right.
So
I
yellow
use it
team's
too
up.
much, I guess.
All right, you ready for
Guess
another
so, too.
one?
Sure.
When I use this card to make a purchase, the money came straight out of my checking account. All right, I think it's
come
you. I think it's you.
Ryan's winning.
I think we have to
All right.
wait for her to
This
complete
one might
the
throw
question.
you guys off a little bit. Okay,
All right.
so I used this card at a fast food restaurant, and I didn't have to enter my PIN or give my signature.
I'm on the
Think
bottom
again.
this
Think
time.
again. I didn't have to enter a PIN or give a signature. Both. Could be
Third
both.
time's
Because
charm.
when purchases
because-
are under a certain amount,
That's right.
you
You
don't
don't
have to
have
do
to sign
that.
anymore.
That's the one that kind of throws the kids off too. So you
That's
guys
true.
are
That's
right
true.
on track. And then we'll do one more with you guys. I can be charged interest if I don't pay the balance on this card.
Come on, you're cheating.
So I guess you win. You would win the fly swatter game.
Awesome.
So very cool.
What's the prize?
Usually for my kids, I would give them some free Buzz Bucks for their folders, and I'll explain how that game works here in just a little bit.
Just don't let it be a free snack.
I have to tell them no on that one. You'd be
That's the
surprised
fly
at how
swatter game I
competitive
played
it
when I
gets.
grew up.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's really competitive. Another game that we have, which doesn't involve fly swatters, but can involve candy, is we have our sweet budget game. And the way that works is you have two different papers, which I think they're going to show you up here, and you have you're basically on a candy budget, okay? So I like to use Skittles. You could use M&Ms. We've even used beans in the past, but we find that kids get more excited for candy. That's why we changed it. And I say, okay, you guys are living on a 20 candy budget. And what they have to do is you're going to see those categories with stars. They have to spend in those categories first. So like one of them I think is share an apartment, and that would cost them, you know, I think it's 3 candies on that one, and then they have to go to the different categories. So after they do the ones with the stars, they can go spend in the other categories. And basically what this game is doing is it's getting them to really think about putting their needs before their wants. And sometimes the kids don't always do that. I've had some kids tell me that they would rather live in a box than give up their their special American Eagle brand clothing or their iPhone. And I understand. I feel like I'd be lost without my phone too. But that's kind of what we do to get them to think about that. And then I also talk to them about the importance of saving, or maybe their, the holidays aren't too far away. I know it's 90 degrees outside, but I talk about like saving money for the holidays, or maybe going on vacations, or maybe something's come up. And then I tell them that they have to take away. I usually have them take away about 7 of their Skittles, so then they have to kind of rework their budget, and it's interesting to see what they cut first. Most kids will go ahead and cut on those recreation things, and they say, well, I'm going to be doing a lot of hiking, a lot of free, free recreation, free stuff. But then, of course, I have other kids that are like, no, I'm just going to move back in with my parents, and I am going to make sure that I get to do all the fun stuff I like. So that's kind of the way we get them to think about budgeting, but in terms of candy. And then they get to eat the candy when it's done, so that's always
fun. Kids will find an answer for anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They will.
And now I think Bryna is going to talk to you guys about something as well.
Guys, kids, of course, need financial literacy games, but sometimes us adults need games too. So I shared this game with you guys at lunch, so I thought you could share it with the audience today. But when I first started working, I had a boss that had a really fun game. She said she needed to do something fun to force herself to save. So every time she got paid, her paycheck, she would take $50 of it and have the bank give that back to her in $1 bills. She'd then at random pick a number or a letter, and then every bill that had that number or letter in the serial number, she'd set aside, and that went back in her savings account. Everything else she got to keep and spend. So it was a different amount every time, but she got to save at most $50 a month sometimes.
Right.
So it's a fun little thing to do.
Yep.
And Ryan, I know you had something fun that you
one
passed along.
one of our colleagues at work, if you pay with cash for any purchase, say you pay with a 20 and you get a 10 and a 5 back, any $5 bill that you receive back in change, he puts in a jar and saves that for vacation. So, over the course of the year, I know he said he has saved up enough to literally pay for the vacation. So.
And it's those little things that we can
Just
do that
$5
really add
here
up.
or there.
That's a lesson we learn all life long, not just
Yeah.
in high school and elementary school.
Sure.
Hope, I know that she has a high school class. She talked to you a little bit about BuzzBucks, but did you want to talk some more about that?
Yes. We have what is called our OBB Banquet program. And the way that works is I start the kids off at the beginning of the school year, because it runs throughout the school year. I do visits about once a month, and they start off with $100 in BuzzBucks, and their goal is to make as much money as they can by the end of the year. And the way they do that is they can take that $100 and put it into different accounts. So we really talk about interest. And we do kind of make the interest rates a little bit high because we want it to be competitive, show them how interest works, and so they can put money in a savings account. They can start a certificate of deposit at the beginning of the year. They can also buy shares of stock. And basically what we're doing is getting them to see, to make those decisions where they want to put that money. And then along the way, they also draw what is called a real life card. So they might have to pay for something. They might make money. So it's really to get them to think about their finances. We do that budgeting game that I told you guys about. We do the fly swatter game, and that's why the fly swatter game does get so competitive, because we want them to really be excited about it. And they know if they're getting those free BuzzBucks for their folder, that's money that they could use towards a bill, or it's money that they could use to beat their classmates.
Sure.
So it is a lot of fun. We do different lessons throughout the way.
What's the most dreaded real life card?
You found a new jacket for school on sale. It's on sale, so I always try to stress to them, for $20. And they'll be like, I don't need a jacket. So that's usually the response I get. And there's always that one kid that's unfortunate, because it's random, and they always get the card, and they're like, but I have to pay a bill every time. And I say, well, that's life. So so it's a good idea to try to do good at the games like the fly swatter game.
Sure.
And we talk about them with other things, like we do identity theft as well. Again, interest is something that we really teach them. So there's different banking lessons along the way. Sometimes I'll have a loan officer with me from Ohio Valley Bank, and they'll talk to them a little bit more in detail about that. So it's a good way to get them to think about the real world, not just from a textbook, but from actually practicing it.
Well, and that's a great lesson to be learned early on, because as an ex-banker, I can tell, and I'm sure you'll share the same stories, that You know, some people don't know how to balance a checkbook.
Absolutely.
And the younger you can get them started, I think the better, the better off. So it's,
Well, and even the savings. I mean,
yes,
that's
savings.
That's a habit. So if you can get kids to kind of start thinking that way and learning that from a young age, they'll continue those habits on through life, where some people really never grasped that concept.
Sure.
So I'm hearing that maybe you think that we should start earlier than high school.
Yes.
Well, lucky for you guys, we do have another game,
Yes.
and I'll get that started.
She's going to get that set up, and we're going to make you guys play another game.
Awesome.
You
All
better-
right.
This is your chance.
This
right
is
away.
my chance to
Okay.
win. Maybe oh boy.
So we have our Adventures in the Classroom programs that
Okay.
feature the Sensibles, which we'll tell you about how you can get that on our website a little bit later. But we have Adventures in Credit and Adventures in Saving. And basically, they're two different lessons. You guys are going to do kind of a step from our Adventures in Savings aspect. And we teach them the value, again, of putting their needs before their wants. We teach them even how to fill out deposit slips, how to count money. They even do a little bit of practice check writing. So it's a little bit more toned down than Bank It, not quite as, you know, here's the real world, here's your accounts. But we do want them to start thinking about saving their money and about making good choices at a young age. So I think Bryna is going to get you started on what we call the Velocirabbit Challenge. So
All right.
So this is our Velocirabbit Super Speed Deposit Challenge. It's something that Hope does with elementary school classrooms as part of our OVB Classroom Adventures. So you'll see here what I gave to Brad and Ryan. Each of them have 3 envelopes, deposit 1, deposit 2, and deposit 3. They don't know yet what's inside. No fair peeking, Ryan. We've also given them a sheet of mock deposit slips for their account. So fellas, in this challenge, usually in the classroom, we do it a little bit differently. We separate kids into teams of 4, and each person in that team has a different job to make that deposit happen. And they're actually racing across the classroom, like Velocirabbit, our super speedy financial literacy friend, racing across the classroom to make that happen. But today, we're going to do a little simplified version with you guys.
Okay.
So you each have the 3 envelopes. We're going to start when I say go. You're going to open the envelope, see what's inside, and fill out a deposit slip correctly for that item. And the first one that gets that to me gets a point. And then we'll do go for the second and go for the third, okay?
Okay.
Now, a couple little instructions. Our deposit slips are completely blank, so I want you to make up an account number to put in there. You can put any number you wish, but fill in your account number. You will need to make sure you fill in your date and the name and the amounts on the proper lines, guys. And there is, make sure you fill that slip out properly. Might have been a while since you guys have had this lesson, so I'm very interested to see what we come up with here. So go ahead and get your first envelope in hand. On your mark, get set, go. Now usually at this point when we do this in the classroom, we see envelopes flying by this point, but these guys are pretty
Today
well
the
got
5th.
it under hand. I don't know, I think Ryan might be he started writing a little bit sooner. Come on, Brad, you can do that.
It's probably a good idea we took away the fly swatters.
Now, great game to play to make that line go a little speedier. Maybe some of these groups that Hope has talked to in the classroom will be able to do their deposits really speedy, and you won't have a long line of bank. About the same time, guys, let's see. Looks like now Ryan forgot to subtotal his, but looks like Brad's got everything filled out correctly. So points to Brad.
That's 1.
Okay. We're going to go ahead.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, we're going to go ahead and skip to deposit envelope number 3. You can just toss those down. We'll get those in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
this one feels a little thicker.
This one may be a little bit
probably
thicker.
a combination.
It might be. On your mark, get set, go. Ooh, Ryan's got strategy with this one. He started writing down some of the items he already knew before opening the envelope. And what the fellas didn't know before opening their envelopes was that this does include a few checks and some cash. So they'll be making a little bit more complex deposit with this one.
feel like it's very intense
Now we have
right now.
to add.
It seems that way. They're very intent on counting and recounting buzz bucks to make sure they got everything just right. We do use our OVB buzz bucks for this. That's part of the classroom adventures as well. Looks like Ryan's got his finished. Let me take a peek.
If I added right, I'd be embarrassed if I didn't.
It looks like it's right, Ryan. Everything.
Yay.
Now, did you remember to endorse your checks? We didn't go over that for this exercise.
It's already on the back.
But that's something we always do enforce with the kids. Make sure that when you write checks and write your deposit slips, to always
Did I get it
use,
right?
Yes. Excellent job.
Now, may I point out a minor
Yes.
thing? I mean, I usually don't like to rat people out,
Okay.
but I noticed he put the wrong date on his deposit ticket.
Oh, I didn't.
wow.
I just looked for
You know
it.
No, that's annoying. That's annoying. It's just sloppy
He
handwriting.
doesn't usually like
Sloppy
ratting people out,
handwriting. It's a good catch. Brad should have been a banker.
but getting kids used to filling out those deposit slips. You know, one day we might not have any deposit slips. We have ATMs now that'll take your card as your deposit slip, and one day we might not have it but for the time being, those are skills that every kid needs to know. So it's important to include those in our everyday life. And
I think the weather's got me confused. It
Is
feels
that it?
more like August
go-
than
I'll
September,
go ahead
so
and
that's
take
why.
your-
All right.
Yeah.
items there.
All right.
Thank you.
You want to get? We can just leave that there. Okay. And one of the other things that we that you guys could do if you guys have children, or if you have children at home, or nieces or nephews, is this is called the Easy as Pie game. Okay. And the Easy as Pie game, the way that works is you ask your kids to pick their favorite dessert out. So if I had been a kid, it would have been, we called it like dirt pudding when I was little. It's like Oreos and stuff. And you get them to write down all the ingredients, and then you actually go to the store and you get them to, mark down how much it costs. And basically it gets the kids to think of like all the costs that would go into making that particular dish, and then you can make it together so they learn a financial lesson, because I think that sometimes kids don't realize how much stuff costs.
Right.
And that's a way to get them thinking about that, and then you can make something good to eat. So that's fun as well.
Now, Hope, for this next game, which one do you think they look like? Simple or compounds? I just can't tell.
We already had that discussion at lunch.
This is a fun game that we like to play. I think Brad called simple, so I'm going to give Ryan
Okay.
compound.
All right.
Brad simple. This is a game
Okay.
for younger kids, and it teaches just that basic
I'll move back over here,
concept
probably.
of simple versus compound interest. Just a kind of, not really as much a game as it is an activity.
Sure.
So we're going to start out. Ryan is, of course, wearing the compound interest sign. Brad in the simple. We're going to start out with your initial deposit of one ball. Oh,
I dropped it.
there.
Automatic
Oh,
payout.
thank
There's
you.
your
Thank you.
interest back.
So we're going to add to that interest the next month. We're going to add a
Okay.
ball to each. Now, as any of you know, this is where we start compounding. So I'm going to get just a few more balls, okay?
Okay.
I couldn't hold one.
So Brad, or Ryan, we're going to go ahead and, Brad, we're going to go ahead and give you your simple interest,
Okay.
just one more ball. But Brad, how many balls do you have there? You've got, Ryan, how many balls? You've
I've got two.
So you get two more.
Two more.
Okay.
Wow.
So his interest is already starting to grow. Brad,
Get another
there's your one.
one more. Okay.
How many do you have now?
I've got 4.
4. So we're going to pull out 4 more
Oh, wow.
to compound your interest.
I like this game.
And you keep you keep going on and on. I'm not going to burden you with all these balls. But you keep going on and on until the kids really see how that compound interest adds up very quickly.
Sure.
Great visual for small kids. Go ahead and toss those in
Goes
there.
back in there.
Not at each other.
Not at each other.
So what are some examples of simple interest products versus compound interest?
A lot of statement savings accounts or basic savings accounts at banks typically have simple interest. Compound interest you'll typically see on CDs or
Okay.
any kind of a time deposit product.
Okay.
But another simple thing for smaller kids that is a fun game. You guys just should wear those all the time.
We should.
Another simple thing that you do for very little kids, a neat idea is to get the little round magnets. And I don't know if you guys can see this on camera, but just that simple little round magnet, you can find them at any kind of discount store in the craft section. and put it on top of different coins. You want to make sure you turn the coins different ways. Some have the front, some have the back. And you put those on your fridge. And then for small children, the activity would be when the child says, Mom, can I have a juice? You say, well, juice today is 10 cents.
Okay.
And they have to take the appropriate coin from the fridge or move it over to your mom's section of the fridge, or whatever have you, and essentially pay for that juice. So it teaches kids at a very young age how to buy things for one, and a little bit of that value of that money too. So it's a nice little, neat little, easy project that you can do with your kids.
So one of the things we were talking about at lunch is, you know, our currency, especially the coins, does not have a number on it to, you know, help people learn the value.
Right.
So it's more of a recognition. So again, another skill. The sooner you can pick that up, the better off you are.
Yep. Absolutely.
So.
It's good to get them to thinking about money and thinking about how much things cost. I've done a budgeting game before with kids where I ask them to write down every single thing they think their parents spend in a month. And I've had kids that think stuff like the internet is free. They think Netflix is free. I'm like, well, it's not free for me.
Cell phones are free.
And speaking of stuff that you can do with your children, is you can actually go to Ohio Valley Bank's website under the Kids tab, those Sensibles characters like Velociraptor that we talked about, that Speedy Challenge. You can actually go on there and they have all kinds of financial games, and there's also crossword puzzles and coloring sheets. I think sometimes I'll have the people that work at OVB kind of test some games out for me, and I think they have a lot of fun with that. And there's a glossary on there that has definitions of interest, but again, it's that in a fun, interactive format as well. And then also on our website, we have a blog that we do, and it has a variety of different financial topics. They could be stuff that you could do with your kids. We even include like community events, and the way that ties in financially is because, you know, you want your kids to think about the value of money, and going places is expensive. Going to the movies can be expensive. So we try to list on there, like, you know, events that might be low cost or free that you can do as a family in our communities. And then we usually do a holiday one with gifts, a lot of DIY. It really gets us to tap into our creative side, but that's something that you can look through. And we also have other games on there and ideas that you can do with your families.
So I think a lot of kids grow up today without kind of a sense of value of what it does cost to have a family budget and what some of those expenses are. And sometimes they can really be astronomical at different times of the year.
One of our bank directors kind of said it best when he said, we really need to take the job of teaching our kids to save before they learn to spend. Because so many kids are being taught in our today's society how to spend money before they even know how to save or invest wisely.
Right.
Yeah. And this is a program that you roll out to the local elementary schools, high schools.
We do Bank It at our high schools. I actually have just started my Bank It visits this month, get that kicked off. And then the adventures, that can be at any of our elementary schools, and that's just a one-time visit. So there's information about how to contact me on our website as well to set that up. You can email me. And it's really fun because I think when kids put it in terms of their own money and what they want, that's when they realize, like, oh wow, it costs money to do things. It costs money to buy things.
It's funny you say that. My oldest daughter got a summer job this year, and you know, opened a checking account and went through the whole process. And of course, she spends her own money when I noticed that she's pulled back on some of the things that she's done or wants to do now that she's.
Because it's your own money.
When it's your money, it's not as easy to spend. Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit of ownership goes a long way in some of those different things.
Yep. Yep. Well, this was interesting. I learned.
I learned a lot too.
I learned that you could use both in the restaurant and not get charged.
Right.
Or well, you
not
get charged, not have to sign or put in your PIN. Shouldn't say that.
I learned not to swing the fly swatter back so far to get a running start. I mean,
well, and
just
a lot
want to be
of
close and
times,
touch
if you're actually going to do that game in a classroom, a lot of times Hope will actually tell the kids to put their fly swatter down to their side before they start, because we get people right on top of it before they want to start. And so
I've had to
that
take points away before. I'm like, okay, if you're gonna swat your teammate, or if you're gonna have a false start. I used to run track, so I'd be like, oh, false start, disqualified, next in line.
I think probably the most important thing I learned today, though, was this is September, not August.
This is September.
So
That's right.
I
Feels like
won't
August
make- It
outside,
does.
It does.
Won't make that mistake the rest of the month. So
Well, but these have been some really great
It is good.
opportunities to learn, and obviously we know children learn in different ways.
Yes.
They learn in different ways than
Absolutely.
we learned. So we have to reach out to them in many different ways to kind of bring that
a
knowledge to
lecture
them.
and a PowerPoint presentation doesn't really go very far in today's
It does
classrooms,
not
and
work.
so we've at the bank we've strived really hard to make some interactive lessons. In addition to some of these that you've seen here, we also do a loan type exercise for elementary schools in our. It's part of our OVB classroom adventures, where the kids actually help the superheroes finance a mega super motorcycle, and you learn financing in 5th, 6th grade. So it's a really great program, and we're glad we got to share it with you today.
well, good. Well, we were glad you shared it with us too.
Yes, this was fun. We'll have
Did
to
it
do
get
We had
something.
super
fun. A little
competitive?
different today, but
It's a little
it was
competitive. We'll work that out later.
Fun. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, and we want to thank Hope and Bryna again
for having
for
us.
coming here to be with us. And until next time, I'm Brad Bapst,
I'm Ryan Mapes.
and for Common Sense. See you later.